Hi, welcome to Overlooked. My name is Pooja Advani. My guest today is an angel for animals. After a successful career in the hotel and the airline industry, she decided to dedicate her life in taking care of animals. Her name is Roxanne Davur. So, my first question to you today is why probably paradise?
Well, besides the fact I'd like to irritate the Marathi postman, we're trying to get probably paradise out without being able to pronounce the P, it seemed appropriate. It wasn't paradise. I mean, you have to be dead for that. We weren't quite dead.
And what are the kind of animals that come to you? And what are their kind of backgrounds probably they would have?
Well, what is said and what actually might be the truth are two different things. Normally, we get a lot of sob stories. And once the animal is there, we're looking at them going, no, that wasn't quite the truth. That was obviously a dog that children wanted to get rid of while mum is in hospital, or it hasn't been quite the right thing, but they wanted to get rid of the animal, and okay, the animal is safe, Basically, I had a bit of a property. It's not a large property. I left it open for animals to share it. We are co-residents.
So what is your daily routine contain? So I'm sure a lot of them would have some kind of issues with abandonment or maybe...
No, I don't agree there. I think basically when I say live like a dog or live like an animal, you never see an animal worry about saving for college or what's going to happen tomorrow. Yes, if they've had a freak out like firecrackers or something like that, yes. But they get over it. They get on with life. They live for today, which is actually not a bad example for humans to live. Live for today. Don't worry about what's going to happen in 5 or 10 years. You don't know if you're alive by then. So Just get on with today. Wake up with a smile and say thank you at the end of the day.
So at probably paradise, how many, you must be having a lot of helping hand. So what is your day like? What is it? How do you start your mornings and
the routines? Similar to any family.
Right.
Mom gets up an hour and a half earlier than necessary so she can have a cup of tea in peace, get some paperwork done. Everybody's still half asleep. Then everybody starts waking up and breakfast is organized. The supplementary tablets, the ones who are on permanent medication are all treated by 8:30. Just the normal household stuff. Get cleaning done. Outpatients start coming in.
So do you have like a veterinary facility also?
No, we have a medical room.
Right.
Because it got past the little bit of medicine on the veranda, where chronic cases or treatment cases or suspect rabies cases can be individually kept.
Right.
Because they very rarely do go to hospitals. And we just don't seem to have vets in the countryside. I know we have a lot of vets because they're all government vets, but they have the unspoken order not to treat other animals except cows.
Why is that, you think?
I have no idea. When we get the little bright sparks, we had one very delightful vet who was transferred to Matharan a few years ago. And he was a great vet to have around. He did horses, he did dogs, he would come stay the night, sit with his patient. If he didn't know, he would pick up the phone and ask somebody. I have no problem with a vet like that. I can't deal with a vet who knows everything and the animal dies. Then you obviously didn't know everything. Veterinary science is a learning science from the word go. And our training in India is relatively old-fashioned. Courses are not prepared. Every time a minister comes and says, give me a new course, he gets transferred. And this priority of this animal or that animal, at the moment it's the cow, is very strange. They don't know how to treat dogs properly. Cats are treated like little dogs. Horses are treated like cattle. Even ponies are different. It's a different species.
Exactly.
So you have to be specialized. If you look in the human world, how many specializations there are. But at least now in the animal world, we do have the vocational training. So we have dog therapists, we have animal behaviorists, we have animal whisperers, which haven't developed in the human medicine world. See, now today, even in India, people are extremely reluctant to go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. But they have no problem taking their dog to a dog behaviorist.
That is true, yeah.
You've
been in the welfare field for a very, very long time. Yes. And you've done your master training in animal welfare.
Let me say, I started in the 70s. My dad started in the 40s.
Right.
Where we used to have a home open for abandoned animals.
Right.
In those days, it was mainly breed dogs because we didn't have any street dogs. They were all killed off till 98, 2000. They were regularly gassed, electrocuted, poisoned, whatever, because it was a very good, profitable industry to kill off street dogs. There was dog fur, there was dog meat, there was the black magic used with the dog, there were, or still are, porno films, snuff movies made with dogs. So there is a very big side industry. And that all got cut off with the animal birth control program. But you still see people trying to do it.
Right.
We do have our porno clubs, we do have our brothels, animal brothels in India, now especially in Bandra. It used to be a lot in Nepean Sea Road. So master trainer came up basically when Mrs. Gandhi became the Minister of Social Empowerment and Justice in Delhi in the early 2000. And she was basically dealing with children, women. So out of curiosity, she wrote to all the women's and children's organizations that were getting grants from the government. And I think out of the several millions that exist in India, I think about 9 wrote back and asked for more time.
Ask for more time for what?
To send their accounts in.
Okay.
She said, at some point you have to be self-sufficient.
Right.
Why are you taking so much money from the government? And basically she had started up the Sanjay Gandhi Hospital in Delhi.
Right.
And she got more and more interested. She has a real soft spot for children and she supports an awful lot of orphanages, and she does have her soft nature. So animals had never been really her thing till her husband had wanted a hospital put up, and she put up a hospital. She got more and more involved, and she realized the hypocrisy or the irony of animal welfare. And the law had been forgotten. The law had been set up by Rukmani Devi in the 60s. Mr. Nehru pushed it through Parliament, and then it was ignored. And it was one of the, or is even to date, one of the most comprehensive, well thought out animal laws. Other countries started picking at it, taking a bit over there. So they pulled over our laws, started using them. So our laws are used all over the world, except in India. And animal cruelty is a very, very, importantly thought of crime. We have Interpol, we have the FBI, we have Scotland Yard, who all have a completely separate, well-manned animal welfare section, animal cruelty section. Animal welfare is it's considered one of the highest things in crime, animal cruelties.
Right.
And as you see, it has become sociable to be cruel to animals. It has become normal. Yes, let's get rid of all the jungles and grow palm oil and get rid of the whole habitat of the orangutan. But if you look at Mauritius was very famous for ship repairs and ships. They had a whole shipping industry because a certain tree grew in Mauritius, which was extremely hard wood. So barnacles couldn't settle on them, things like this. So in the 18th, 19th century, Mauritius was an island where a lot of ships traded to be repaired, to have the barnacles taken off the bottom of the boat. Okay, so you've got a lot of sailors on land not knowing what to do with themselves. Let's go shoot the dodo. It can't fly, it's fat, and we have a barbecue. So they had the dodo, they managed to kill off the dodo. But how were these trees growing? When the dodo ate the seed and shat it out again, that's when the seed fertilized. With the death of the dodo, these trees didn't grow and they lost the whole industry. So whether you call it karma or whether you call it physics, science, it works the same way. What goes around comes around. So when Maneka Gandhi decided to look at the laws, she realized that most people have absolutely no idea what the laws are. If I go into the Ministry of Animal Husbandry in Mantralaya and ask for the rules of animal husbandry, the minister didn't even have a copy in his office, not even online.
I mean, this is what you're talking about earlier in
now.
Now.
Go now into Mantralaya and ask for a list of the animal husbandry rules. Rules, mind you, not laws. Rules. He won't have them.
And our laws are right now dated to 1960.
Yes. And everybody says, oh, but it's a 50 rupee fine. What was 50 rupees worth in 1950 or 60? It was half a month's salary.
Yes.
I remember in the 70s getting 400 rupees a month salary. A big ad executive, he got maybe 2,000. So 50 rupees was a lot of money and a 100 rupee fine. So when I go into court now, I always ask the magistrate, please consider the devaluation of the rupee when you are calling for the fine. And one in Ooty turned around and fined the guy 2,500 per chicken. Because police love to group. If you murder one, you might as well murder 10 because it comes one murder.
But you do feel that the animal cruelty laws right now need a lot of amendment.
Not amendment, they just need to be enforced. They need, when I do police training, I did a lot of police training in Tamil Nadu, and we had an afternoon where they had to assess the 2-day training. And most of the people said, well, 30% of them went vegetarian literally overnight. And the rest said, if we had enforced these laws, we wouldn't need laws, especially for women or children. Because if people were indoctrinated at a young age that you cannot throw a stone at a dog, you cannot kick an animal, you cannot beat an animal, then they wouldn't dare do it with their wife and children. Because kicking, beating, throwing stones is a form of bullying. And if you get away with bullying, you will get bored of doing it with smaller and you will move on. So even J. Edgar Hoover in the 40s put out a big report on people on death row, and 100% of people on death row had started with animal cruelty. And in the 40s, it was, oh, he's being a boy. It's a boy's thing, And 73% worked in slaughterhouses. So cutting a throat of a sheep or a goat or a cow doesn't make much difference to doing that to a human. And when we point out in courts, especially people like Meat and when they go, Anthony Rubin, when they go to court and they give the studies, there are scientific studies, you'll find the magistrate going, oh, because the association between, slap them on the wrist now and you won't have a problem later on. And accepting animal cruelty as a way of life, as people say, you see people taking school trips to a farm, but you never see school trips going to a slaughterhouse.
Don't want to show them that reality, what is actually going on.
This is it. If you're going to kill, for your own pleasure, then know where it's coming from.
But we have seen cases of, we've seen a rise in the number of cases of animal cruelty.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of them have been punished. A lot of them have got off scot-free.
Yes.
And my whole thing is...
But then tell me how many rapists get off scot-free? Most of them, right? Women, children, animals are still in today's society, and I'm not saying India, in a lot of societies, are considered commodities to buy, sell, swap. When guys lose their hair, they have to get a new car, and they have to get a new wife, and they have to, show they still can.
How do we sensitize the younger generation towards all of this?
Well, I always say it's the simplest is to terrify them. Catch them by the back of the neck, give them a good shake and go, no. And that seems to do it. I don't really go personally into a lot of explanation. I just say, don't do it, or you have me to deal with. And maybe the scary passy lady in a night dress is more frightening than, trying to prove something about... Because it's the mothers at fault, let's be quite honest. If we have a bad generation now, it's been our fault. We can't shove it onto anybody else. We have not trained our sons in a better manner. And our daughters.
What are the steps do you think that we need to take in terms of having stricter punishments for these kind of cases?
I don't think punishments help. It's like a dog, I mean,
right.
Punishments aren't going to help. But the education is important. Our absolute lack of good teachers. We have good, really good profession. Being a teacher is a profession. It's not a job. And I'm sure you remember, and older people remember, those teachers who were in it for the love of teaching and imparting knowledge. We remember them all, and we should encourage our teachers. And our teachers' syllabus should be different, and as well, our B.Ed should be a different course. I've gone to law colleges, I've gone to B.Ed colleges, and I said, let's bring animal welfare into it. And they'll go, is it free? And I said, do you charge your students? Yes, then it's not free for you.
Why do you think that is the attitude of a lot of people, that they want animal welfare?
Because India has been trained to be the NGO country. We are getting money from the government, we are getting money from abroad, we are the poor. The poor, to be poor is encouraged. To be competent isn't.
A few articles that I've read of yours, you talk about coexistence.
Yeah.
And that is something that is disappearing in our country. And it is disappearing very fast. At some levels, we think we are the superior species, and we forget that we are also very dependent.
We are the most dependent, yes.
How can we change that?
Well, I don't think it's going to happen. We are so busy grabbing and killing, and we don't have jungles in India as much as you'd like to convince yourself, oh, we have the Mudamalai and we have this jungle. No, they're not. They're patches of wild within urbanization. We have not learned to live with other animals. Unless they are obeying us, then we will keep our sheep and our goats and our cattle, because we have use of them.
A sense of ownership.
But to be the food for a tiger, we're not so prepared to do. But it is a circle of life, no? We are all talking about development here, but there's no backup to the development. We'll be building beautiful autobahns and expressways. Who's repairing them? Nobody.
But these autobahns, and it's basically coming at a cost of what?
Cost of everything. The water, now they started redoing our highway in Karjat in March. where there is no water. So tankers of water were pouring onto the asphalt and the cement and the bitumen and whatever. Tankers every day. Couldn't have done it in November. They couldn't have done it in the monsoon where water is hardly available. No, because all the workers go off to plant rice, no? But it's education, basically. The education has to be valid. And one of the most important things in this country is that everything is academic. It has to be the doctor, the scientist, the vet, you know. What happened to the vocational training? The electrician, the plumber. I might have a super duper fancy architect build my flat of buildings, but I've got uneducated electricians and plumbers working on it. That doesn't make sense. And when you look in Europe, it's the plumber making the money, it's the electrician making the money.
So what are the kind of educational programs that we can actually introduce coming into animal welfare or coming into vocational programs that you were talking about?
Well, I always recommend to families, if you're looking at having a pet in the house, if you're looking at having foster, we have several professions as such. There's the fostering, where you keep an animal short term because we have no inpatients at vets department. You can help out a veterinary doctor. You can work in a pet shop, a creche. There are thousands of possibilities today, especially in Bombay, where you volunteer for a while. And any good volunteer is definitely hired. Now, I had a 14-day volunteer program at the Probably Paradise because I was getting fed up. It's not something where people pop in to volunteer. And till the animals are used to the person, they need a little bit of time. So I had a young lady who rang up and says, oh, I want to volunteer. I'm going, right, you know. And these numbers I don't even save. Because if they're going to come, they're going to come. There is no point me calling after them. She turned up and she stayed a year. And we are not letting her go, you know what I mean? She's going for further training, she's doing this, she's doing that. She fitted in nicely and she's been there a year. So we teach first aid, basic rescue, observation, working with animals, behavioral, running a shelter. It is not that easy. It is not just opening your gates and said, let them come in, you know, 2 by 2. If you want to climb a tree, you start in the bottom. You don't start in the middle. You work on your environment and your animals. And then automatically everything grows from there. If you don't sort out your animals and environment, your women and children doesn't improve, nothing improves. That's my opinion.
A very interesting thought you've left us with.
It's got to be from the base.
Yes.
And it's got to be education. We have just might have left it too late, we have left it too late.
So according to you, we can't turn this back?
Not unless everybody stops having children today. Just stop having children. I mean, I do have couples bringing the mother-in-laws to visit the shelter, and then the mother-in-law inspects it to be a friend of the couple, don't realize that I'm actually older than the mother-in-law. And then they will purposely bring up the topic of children, and she's, yes, they must have a child. I'm going, why? Arey, madam. I said, you can call me auntie. But if people have children now, we work on the line of adopt, don't shop.
Right.
And look at the amount of, what is it, yes, those.
IVF treatments.
Yes. And every time I try to bring up that conversation, I ask a doctor, why do you have a fertility clinic? Oh, you have to ask my patients. And I'm going, but why can't you answer me? In India, we need fertility clinics in India. That is an oxymoron if I ever heard it. Everybody I have met who desperately wants a child, they want a baby. They get the shock of their life when the baby grows up or has their own opinion.
But somehow that even works with even puppies, right? When everyone wants a puppy.
Yeah.
And then they get a shock when they...
Yeah, but now they can get rid of it now.
But the abandonment issue that we are having.
That's the throwaway society. Throw it away. I mean, people get very upset when I voice my opinion in my gentle, dulcet tones.
You mentioned earlier about this training program that you did with the officers in...
Police officers.
Police
yes.
officers. Mm-hmm. What is this training program?
It was teaching them the law, basically.
And
PCA Act, the IPC Act, the Indian Police
right.
Act, the wildlife for the police, because the police are unaware that the forest department can file a case, but they have to file it with the cops.
Right.
You know, so when it becomes a crime, everything goes to the police. And a lot of police don't realize that they are the operating force.
So can you run us through those laws and the procedures that we can do when we have to supposedly file a case?
Well, basically, everybody can file an FIR.
Right.
If you have difficulty in filing an FIR, which is first information report, it doesn't have to be the truth. That is all under a matter of investigation. But you're filing a first information report, and you can file it anywhere in the country. Don't ever believe this codswallop of, oh no, your thing got stolen here, you have to go to that police station. That's all rubbish. So the simplest thing is you sit in the police station, smile sweetly at them, say, do you have internet? And they'll go, yes. So please go to YouTube. There is a whole row of how to file an FIR in case you don't know. I don't have to go to that police station. You can file it here, which they all well know, by the way. But the thing is, you have to follow up. Just filing an FIR does not mean it solves the program. And very few people actually go back to court. But surely you had this conversation with Neat, no?
Yes. No, basically what I wanted to understand in terms of how can we do this in terms of related to animals. So coming in, we brought in the PCA Act, we had the Wildlife Protection Act, and then the cops get involved, right? The cops are basically is where we file the FIR. So what I was wanting you to...
But you can also file it online and you can file it with the magistrate. If you have any, if you walk into a police station, Beto, fine, thanks a lot. I'll be at the magistrate's office tomorrow morning. I'll file it there. Go online. You get a number. You can follow it up online.
So your volunteer program that you have, can you elaborate on that? Like,
there's nothing to elaborate. You come, you stay. You stay the 14 days, you get a certificate.
Okay.
Nobody's managed it yet.
14 days, nobody's managed to stay.
Look, I'm not there to entertain them.
Right.
I get a lot of volunteers. I want dinner, I want lunch. I said, there's the stove, go make it. The one who ran away at 12:30 at night was actually a person who does dog behavior and training and boarding. So many dogs scared her. Now, what do you say to that?
But I mean, like when we were talking about how important it is to educate and how important it is to bring the regulations and people who are going into this facility, going into these programs or becoming behaviorists, on terms of legalities, how it is important to have these courses that actually certify you the right way.
But most of the animal people do these courses. It's just the boarders and the boarding houses. Yes, there is nothing thought of for shelters. But when the laws were made, these things weren't around. Do you understand? What's his name? The guy who wrote all the books, Anderson, I think. He was running around with the rabid hyena for months till the animal died, because hyenas have a certain thing about rabies. Not quite sure what it was, but they tend to be carriers of rabies. And, but we do need vocational training certificates, whether it's a plumber or an electrician. If I have an electrician coming and said, I need your card to see you've been certified and you belong to, you have been trained somewhere.
But those
Before you-
certifications are there.
No.
Like people are getting certified,
Yeah.
but the regulations are not holding them
Yeah.
responsible.
Yeah.
And I guess
And people love to complain on Facebook rather than go out and do it. But now vets are being pulled up. Even well-known vets are being hauled up. But you've got the Veterinary State Council going, duh. But vocational training is needed. A certain amount of regulations is needed. Not always possible, but
needed.
it can be. We have 8 food and safety inspectors in the district of Raigad, which goes from Panvel to Ratnagiri. 8 food and safety inspectors. Tell me where we're going to get animal welfare inspectors.
You said earlier that we really don't have a future. We are almost done. Then why there are such a lot of efforts right now happening for conservation? Or
Where? From our government? No, not a bit. Where?
there's a lot of people talking about it.
Yes.
There's a lot of people who are trying
Yes.
to do something. But like
Yes.
there is in terms of, I guess there is a new generation that is coming in, which is saying, okay, we need to start doing something.
But do they?
That is the big question. And we have no ropes to give them to do something, even if they want to.
Of course we do. The mass makes the music. We have farmers. You don't want to adopt a dog, adopt a farmer. If you want to eat. We have a farmer's market in Karjat every Saturday. Do you think there's one farmer sitting at it? No, they're all middlemen from Nasik. Karjat was the fruit and vegetable belt of Bombay. It isn't anymore. So was Alibag. It isn't anymore. Guys, you did this. We are all to blame. Did we say stop? No, we didn't. When you have your cement housing, give it for 200 days to the teachers. Give it to an NGO to grow vegetables. There's no, I don't know, people get terrified, it's mine and they'll occupy it and can't take it with you.
Can't take anything with you.
Can't take anything with you. Might as well enjoy it while it's here or give it to somebody else to enjoy.
Now, something you said when you came in was live like a dog, enjoy every minute that you have and live in the now.
And if you're not waking up with a smile on your face in the morning, why wake up? If it's like, oh, I've got to get up. Oh, I've got to. Why are you doing it? Oh, I've got to get a salary. No, you don't. You need your food, water, and shelter. That is the right of every single living being. But you don't have to drive a fancy car. You can rent it for a day.
That is true, yeah. You can.
I don't understand why anybody has a car in Bombay. You don't get anywhere with it. Now they're coming up with a new parking thing. Huh? It's very simple. People who live in Bombay pay 20,000 a year and they get a parking ticket. They can park anywhere they like in Bombay. Anybody coming from outside Bombay pays 2,000 a day. They can also park wherever. But if you're going to pay 2,000 a day for coming to Bombay, you're going to leave your car outside. They make more trains, but they don't make more tracks. Be a dog. Live like a dog. Come to the Probably Paradise for courses. We're out in the country. We've got fresh air. We've got stars. We have no mosquitoes.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
It was wonderful talking to you. It
I hope
was
we had
such a pleasure.
Thank you very much for having us.